I think that YouTube is the very thing that's stopping you from improving as a jazz musician. Now, that's a rather controversial thing to hear from someone who teaches jazz on YouTube, but please hear me out. Every day, thousands of pianists watch another lesson on jazz chords or voicings, another lesson on scales, another tutorial on improvisation, and then they wonder why even after years of trying, they still can't improvise. The real problem is that watching jazz or watching jazz videos isn't quite the same thing as playing jazz. And I've said on this channel multiple times that jazz is something that we do. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why you're stuck, and I'm also going to give you 3 things that you can do right away so that you can start seeing real results in your playing. Now, if you need a clear roadmap on how to progress as a jazz musician, then feel free to take the quiz that I'm going to put in the description. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to work on based on where you currently are. And if you can't find it, simply type the word quiz and I will send you the link to the quiz. Now, let's get into the video. So, the first reason is that you don't listen to enough jazz. Now, imagine trying to learn French, or any language for that matter, but without ever listening to French people speak. Now, I don't speak any French myself, so I'm going to give this a go. French people, or French-speaking people, I love you, okay, but please forgive me just for today. Please forgive me in advance. Right, so I am going to look on my phone here at some French phrases, and I'm going to read them. Just the way I see them, right? Sylvaus plate bonjour. Oh, I like this one. Parles vaus anglais. Here's another one. Ost lagare. Je suis perdu. Combien ça coûte? Okay, you know what? I'm going to stop torturing you. But anyway, if my accent or my pronunciation is absolutely spot on, if you speak French, please type the word, in fact, it's not a word, just type spot on, and then I'll know I've got this. Just type that in the comments there. However, if what you've just heard is unbelievable and maybe vomit-inducing, then please just type the word dreadful. Okay. And I think the chances that I'm correct here are probably quite slim. And isn't it interesting that there are so many students that I come across who want to learn jazz, and yet they hardly ever listen to jazz. They think that simply playing from a lead sheet is enough. They think that going through maybe a jazz book is enough. They think that doing a course is enough. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, these things are all useful tools. There's some good lead sheets, there's some good books, some good courses, such as the ones I offer. But anyway, surely these things are not, or they cannot be substitutes for listening to the actual language spoken particularly by the native speakers of that language. So if I were to learn French, for instance, right, the best thing might be for me to go to France or to be surrounded by French-speaking people. Now, obviously, I must have the desire to speak French. So now that's important. Otherwise, I could live in France for 20 years or for the rest of my life and still sound as shocking as I did just now. You know, so if you have a desire to learn jazz, and I mean a real desire, or a burning desire as Napoleon Hill called it in his book, you know, then you must create for yourself a jazz environment. And one of the best ways to do this is you've got to listen to jazz being played by its native speakers. So what I mean by this is, if you're a pianist, I would suggest that you quickly familiarize yourself with speakers or players such as Bud Powell, Bill Evans, Oscar Peterson, Horace Silver, Herbie Hancock, Red Garland, Wynton Kelly, McCoy Tyner, Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, Kenny Barron, Mulgrew Miller. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And as you listen, just try and find out who tickles your fancy. And then what I would do if I were you is I would then get as many of their recordings as possible. So if you play trumpet, well, then make sure you listen to Louis Armstrong, Clifford Brown, or Miles, or Dizzy Gillespie. You know, if you into guitar, then Wes Montgomery, Jim Hall, Joe Pass, George Benson. I mean, whoever you like, you've got to make sure that you listen to those guys. Same thing, drummers, listen to your Max Roach or Buddy Rich, you know, whoever you like, really, you know. And what I would do is I would encourage you, well, then listen to these guys in your house, listen to them in your car, listen to them even on your device, you know, or at work. You just want to make sure that you listen to this music, well, in two ways, really. So you want to listen to it passively, but you also want to make sure that you listen to it actively. And what I mean by listening actively, you want to notice certain things. So like, what do you notice about their phrasing? Or what do you notice about their rhythm? Or their articulation? Or what do you even notice about the interaction between the musicians? One of my favorite recordings ever is when I was listening to Herbie Hancock and Ron Carter, Tony Williams, and George Coleman. And they were playing, I think the album's called My Funny Valentine 4 and More. I absolutely love. It's not even about the chords or the scales or even the lines that they play. For me, it's the interaction between the musicians. Because if Herbie goes this way, then Tony Williams is right there with him. You know, they can start playing the song double time or half time. I love that. So when you're listening to, how are they doing these interesting things? And simply by listening alone, you're going to start recognizing, but also even more importantly, internalizing vocabulary. You know, before you ever actually put your fingers down and play the music. So that's very, very important. Feel free to list any musicians that you love, you know, in the comment section, and you can list musicians on your instrument. This will be really good because it will give people that watch this some options and maybe an introduction to some names that they might not have otherwise heard of before. Oh, by the way, if you play saxophone, please, I beg you do need to listen to Charlie Parker. You know, if you're an alto, you want to listen to that. If you're tenor, Sonny Rollins, you know, John Coltrane, the list is endless. Okay, so there's so many things to check out. So reason number one, you're probably not improving, is you're not listening to enough jazz. Listen to the native speakers of this language. And now, reason number two is you don't transcribe. Now, transcribing is probably the single habit that really transformed my own playing more than almost anything else. So people often think that transcription is all about just copying someone else's playing. At the surface, you know, it might seem that way, and maybe temporarily you're actually copying that person, but then the ultimate goal is to just simply learn the language. You want to learn the jazz language, and there's no better way to learn it than transcribing. We've all done this with real language, so whatever language you speak, because we heard certain phrases. In fact, even if you want to learn a new language now, you've got to hear certain phrases in that language spoken by the native speakers. And what we do is when we hear these phrases, we copy them, you know, and we've all done this, whether it's from our parents or from our siblings. It's interesting when I think about it that to this day, when I speak, there are certain things that I can tell came directly from my father, or from my uncle, and yet what's interesting is I'm using their words or their influence, but I'm actually telling my own stories, making up my own sentences and communicating. I'm having my own conversations with people. So we all have to start somewhere. So for instance, Mozart learned from his father. Beethoven studied Mozart, actually. And Louis Armstrong learned from King Oliver. Charlie Parker, he emulated Lester Young. Herbie, he wrote that he used to actually transcribe and write down Oscar Peterson solos. Chick Corea mentioned that he transcribed Bud Powell, and then he realized, Bud is quite difficult. So I'm going to transcribe some Horace Silver first, and he transcribed Horace Silver. He transcribed Blue Mitchell's trumpet lines. He actually not only learned the solos, but wrote them down. And this is all about absorbing language. It's all about internalizing it. I've got an example here. There we go. Right, so I've got an example for transcription that I've been working on. Now, this here is a song by McCoy Tyner. In fact, I don't know if he wrote it or if he just played it. It's called Passion Dance. And I haven't even finished the transcription. I've just written, let's see, 4, 8, 12. I've just done the first 16 bars or first 16 measures of the solo. And I chose this quite intentionally, because a lot of the vocabulary in this or in McCoy's music is fairly new to me, because I consider myself more of a hard bop kind of musician, so I would have never known these things unless I actually transcribed. And then I've got here right next to my transcription my sticky notes here, where I've already written some things that I actually learned from the transcription. So I want to share this with you. Okay, in fact, I'll take a photo and just put it here so that you can see. So had I not gone through this process, I wouldn't have known a lot of these things, because they're not there in hard bop. Maybe they are, but I just haven't come across these things. So I'm going to play a little bit of this, and then I'll talk you through some of the things that I see. Okay, so it goes something like this. I can't even play it at speed yet, but and then it goes into a whole bunch of craziness. But even if I don't play the entire thing, and I might not need to even transcribe this whole song myself, there's already quite a lot of lessons here, which I want to talk to you about. So the first thing that I noticed, right, is that, well, McCoy uses different types of voicings from the ones that I'm used to. Normally if I'm playing, let's say, an F7 chord, I might play the root and the seventh. I might play the root, the third and the seventh, or I might even play it that way. This is how I'm used to playing. Sometimes I might play some rootless voicings, but the thing that caught my attention that I learned from transcribing this solo is that McCoy uses perfect fourths. He uses voicings that are built from perfect fourths. So for an F, you'll play the F, the B flat, and the E flat. And I love that. So this is a different way of playing, and he moves these fourths around the keyboard. So in this little transcription I've got, he plays the fourth starting on that F. He also plays it at some point starting on G. Let me see, where else? He does it on an F sharp. He does it on an A flat, even on a B flat. Okay, so it looks like these fourth voicings are all over the place, right? So that's already lesson number one for me. I can use these sorts of voicings when I want to kind of play in this McCoy Tyner style. Or the other lesson that I learned is, together with those fourths, every now and then McCoy seems to love playing a perfect fifth down here. And I think this really, well, first of all, it drives the music, but it gives the feeling of home. So he plays, you know, and he keeps coming back. Okay, so I like that fifth, and then I like the combination of the fifth and the fourths. You know, so that's something I could use and now create my own sentences, have my own conversations, but using that information. Right, so it's not just about copying. All right. Another thing that I love here is that this piece seems to use a mode. And this is based on the Mixolydian mode. And your Mixolydian mode is really, it's almost like the major scale. So if I think F major, I simply flatten the seventh. So that's quite cool. See, already I can see that I'm exploring that world right there. But inside the mode, one thing that I noticed from transcribing is that he seems to love this interval. He loves the fourth degree of that mode. It doesn't even have to resolve, you know. In a lot of our music, the fourth is like a suspension, which needs to resolve. But actually, McCoy doesn't feel the need to resolve. You know, sometimes he can just end his line there. Okay, but he emphasizes that fourth quite a lot. He also emphasizes the seventh. Okay, but the mode is the Mixolydian mode. Okay, so we've already mentioned the fourths. We've mentioned the fifth down there in the left hand. We've mentioned the mode. We've mentioned that we can always emphasize the seventh and the fourth. But also another thing that I noticed from this transcription is it seems to love playing some triads or think about triads. So for instance, on this F, if it thinks of that F major triad and then just add a second to it, right? But on the fourth degree, on the B flat, there's also a chord there or a triad, and we can add the second to it. So now we've got, and we've got, we've also got on the seventh degree, okay, so I see those sorts of things, you know, and sometimes by using inversions, those same ideas might look hidden. You know, so I'm getting inside the language a little bit, and I'm kind of coming up with my own theories based on how I see these things. So when I look at this again, so that's just your F major chord, okay, broken chord with some fourths. This F chord, and then you just add the second. This. This here is the pentatonic scale. There's that F again. Ending on that suspension with no problem. But we keep coming back to that fifth in the left hand, which just drives the music really. That's the main thing I hear from this. And then there's that pentatonic scale in there as well. Right, so Basically, there are so many things that we can learn from the process of transcribing. I almost always write down the lessons that I get from a transcription. So the actual notes are not my primary interest. My primary interest is to learn, and to learn what exactly? To learn the language. Okay, so if you're possibly interested in transcribing, okay, that's something I'm happy for us to look at. So maybe I'll consider doing some videos where I walk you through my process of transcribing, or maybe we could do some live sessions together. Simply type the word transcribe in the comments, and then we'll transcribe some songs together. Maybe if you've got some songs in particular that you're even interested in me checking out here with you, I'm happy for us to analyze those things together. The benefits of transcription are immense, and for me, this is where the real ear training happens. You know, this is way more beneficial than simply singing intervals, or I'm identifying chords. Transcribing is where you discover new things. Like I gave you a list of things that I discovered. Some of them I've read in books, but now when you hear them and you see how a native is speaking these, then now you say them with the correct pronunciation, correct articulation, everything, you know, correct accent. So it's really cool. So please feel free to let me know if you're interested in transcribing. So the reason you're probably not improving, reason number 2, is you're not transcribing solos. You will not become a copycat. You will not become a clone by transcribing. It's your way to get into the language. You know, sometimes people kill me on YouTube. I've got this one comment from someone who said, you know, copying someone else is not, and the capital letters on the not, is not improving. Probably missed the point there. The point is, by transcribing or by copying someone, even if you want to call it that, you're actually learning the language. So this whole game is about learning language. Okay, so there's no one that just, well, maybe there is one or two that just fell from heaven and started playing miraculously things we've never heard. The rest of us mere mortals, we are going to have to learn this from elsewhere. You know, just like no one just gets up and starts speaking a language that we've never heard. We're like, this is a different version of Chinese that I hear in Africa. But anyway, let's go to the third reason. The third reason why you might not be improving is that, this is a big one, by the way, you don't play jazz with other people. So a lot of people overlook this one, okay, especially my students. They don't really listen to it. Okay, well, now we start working on transcribing and learning the language. Now the missing ingredient is exactly this. You now need to play with other people, because you can't practice alone forever. You know, and a lot of my students are obsessed with the idea of, I just want to play solo piano, so it's just for myself. You know, jazz was never really designed as a solo activity. It's a conversation. You know, even when you're playing by yourself, you're still having a conversation with yourself. So you can only become conversational by having conversations. So playing with other musicians forces you to do certain things. So for instance, it will force you to keep time. It will force you to listen. It's going to force you to recover from mistakes. It's going to force you to react and to respond in real time. And for me, one of the most important things playing with other people does is it helps you to support other people, you know. So you're going to make someone else sound good, you know, when they're playing a blues. So these are skills that you simply cannot develop in isolation. Now, to play with other musicians, you need repertoire. And repertoire is the common language. So if you don't know any songs, it's going to be very difficult for you to play with others or even to participate in jam sessions. And jam sessions are where people really, really improve, you know. So instead of you just playing by yourself in your practice room, I would strongly recommend that you find other people to play with. if you can maybe form either a duo, so that means you just find a bass player to play with if you're a piano player, or find a saxophone player to play with, or maybe a trio. You know, you might even have a drummer or any other musician. You know, as long as you can find some like-minded musician, you will grow way faster than if you were doing it all by yourself. So let's recap. If you want to see real transformation in your playing, then the 3 things that I've suggested that you do is: number 1, listen to jazz; number 2, transcribe; and then finally, play with others. Now, those 3 habits are incredibly important, but they're only part of the picture. Over the years, I've realized that there are 5 major mistakes that keep jazz musicians stuck even when they practice consistently. So, in my live stream, which I'll be doing, not live stream, in my live webinar or workshop, which I'm doing this Saturday, I am going to unpack for you all 5 mistakes in detail, and I'm going to show you the roadmap that I use with my own students so that they move from knowing about jazz, having all the information, to actually playing it, and playing it with confidence and with freedom. So we're going to talk about why some people make maybe years of progress in just a few months, while others stay at the same level for years and years and years. And with these guys, it's not usually that they're not talented or they're just not getting it. It's often because they're not following the correct process. Sometimes they'll learn the correct things, but they learn them in the wrong order. Okay, so this workshop is going to be completely free. All you have to do is to simply click the link that I'm going to put in the description, or you could actually simply scan the QR code that's on the screen to reserve your place. I would really, really love to see you there, and I would love to help you as much as possible. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button. If you like the contents of the video, please give it a thumbs up. And like I always say, jazz is something we do. So please put these things into use. Start listening, start transcribing, start playing, and I can actually guarantee that you will see real results and real transformation in your playing. I hope to see you in the next video.